Hello my friends, this is going to be part 2 of discussing your Hermes questions and dilemmas. So if you have not seen part 1, make sure to link it down below for you in the info box. But without further ado, let's pick up right where we left off. Do you think Kelly 25 or Birkin 25 is better in Sellier or Retourne? I feel like it's a tough question to answer just because they look so different in Sellier than they do in Retourne. I feel like when it comes to the Kelly, if I could only choose one, I would probably, for myself, I would choose Retourne just because I find it easier to style on me, especially when it comes to larger bags. So if we talk about any Kellys above size 32, I would always go for Retourne. And then when we're talking Kelly 28, Kelly 25, Kelly 20, obviously in Kelly 20 right now, that's your only option, but I would probably opt for Sellier. So in Kelly 25, I would say that Sellier is probably, I think it's a bag that's easier to dress up and dress down, whereas if you buy a Kelly 25 Retourne, it's a little bit tougher to make it look more formal. So in a Kelly 25, I would go for Sellier, but in a Birkin 25, I would probably stick to the Retourne structure. Not that there's anything wrong with the Birkin 25 Sellier, it's a beautiful bag, but it is quite wide and I feel like there are people who can pull it off, but for me it always just looks a little strange, perhaps because I'm so used to the more slouchy, relaxed feel of the Birkin that it just seems out of place and still shocking to me. But I would say that when it comes to Kelly 25, opt for Sellier, but when it comes to a Birkin 25, yes, a Sellier is beautiful and it's a really unique bag, but I would probably stick to the good old Retourne structure. This is an interesting question. Do you think larger bags will come back in style in the near future? I certainly think so. Obviously, mini bags have been the hottest thing out there, and I feel like the fact that since 2020 most people haven't really been going out that much, most people stopped going to work, meant that they didn't have the need for a larger bag, which definitely helped smaller bags stick around a little bit longer than they were supposed to. But I feel like if you suit a large bag and if you need a large bag, by all means go for it. But as all trends, things go in cycles, and I'm sure that's going to be the case with mini bags too. And in a few years we'll look back and think that we were ridiculous for spending thousands of dollars on these mini bags. So I certainly think that they will be back in style before we know it, but even if they're not in style, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy it now. I am a big fan of larger bags and I think that there is definitely a time and a place for them. It just all depends on your proportions and what you need a bag for. Shall we do a non-Hermes related question? Because we have one here, which is favorite beauty products. It's something that I have been promising you guys for the longest time that I would do a skincare routine video. Maybe it's something that I should do on Instagram just so I don't mix and match topics. But let's talk about my favorite beauty products really quick, and let me show you what I have on my desk at all times. So two things that I always have here are the Augustinus Butter Rich Cream. I didn't bring it out here for this question. This is something that always sits here just because I have rosacea, and when I feel the redness flaring up or I feel like my skin is getting really hot, this is something that I love to put on. This is kind of like a cashmere blanket for your face. It's something that I have one of in my bathroom, I have one in my bedroom, and I always have one sitting out here. I love Augustinus Butter and I love his Rich Cream, especially if you have sensitive skin. So this is something that I've been through, I want to say 10 tubs of, and I don't see it going anywhere in my routine. But if you don't want to spend this kind of money, because I know it's ridiculous, there's a cream by Eucerin that I love. If I can find it online, I'll make sure to link it down below. It is extremely similar to this in terms of what it does for my skin. Yes, it's not going to have the same patented ingredients, but in terms of the way it looks, and I should say in terms of the way it makes my skin look and feel, it is incredibly comparable. And then another piece that I always have on my desk is my Hermes Lip Balm in the color Rose Apricot. I feel like this is the second refill that I've gone through, and I already have a third one in the cupboard. I love this lip balm. I don't buy it because it's tinted. I don't really think it's really that tinted or that pigmented. If anything, it just makes my lips look a little bit more lively, but I love the texture, I love the scent, I love even the taste, and I do like the way these make my lips feel. So these are things that I always have on hand somewhere near me. Speaking of things near me, I also love the Keys Soaker candle, which is by Alicia Keys. They have a candle called, I think it is inspired by oat milk and sage, which I'm not exactly sure if this is what this candle smells like, but it has the most incredible scent. If you're looking for a candle that is going to make your home smell expensive, but it is grounding, it's cocooning, and most importantly, it's welcoming. It's not going to make your home smell like a fancy hotel or a department store, or that you're just sitting in the bathroom of a fancy hotel, but it will actually smell like home. I would highly recommend this candle. It is the most beautiful scent, and if I had to choose my signature scent, this is the one that I would go for. I'm trying to think of my summer skincare routine to see if there's anything else that I could recommend that's been a standout. I would say that my most favorite cleanser of all time is the Clinique Take the Day Off Balm. It's incredible, it's incredibly effective, but it's not harsh, and I really need something that gets in there and gets rid of all the sunscreen that I apply throughout the day. So the Clinique Take the Day Off Balm is something that I can always rely on. It gets the job done, it's not harsh, it's not stripping, and it doesn't leave a film, which I feel like a lot of balm cleansers do. I've tried less expensive and more expensive balm cleansers, but the Clinique Day to Day Off is one that I always go back to. Speaking of sunscreen, I am the biggest sunscreen advocate. If I had to choose one product and one product only that I would like to stick to using, other than the Augustinus powder moisturizer, it would be sunscreen, because I've never used anything that has done as much for my skin as using sunscreen consistently. And I would say that when it comes to sunscreen, I have to stick with the L'Oreal group. Any one of the brands that they own, I trust and would use. So you can choose La Roche-Posay. They are the ones that I tend to go for. SkinCeuticals, they have, I think it's called the Sheer Mineral Sunscreen or the Sheer Physical Shield, something like that. I'll put in a picture here. That is also sunscreen that I love if you don't want to spend as much money on sunscreen as SkinCeuticals. Go to Garnier. Garnier is owned by L'Oreal, so you know that you'll get the same R&D, and you may not get the same ingredients or the same elegance, but the ethos of the product and the technology is going to be extremely comparable. So any one of the brands that are owned by the L'Oreal group, SkinCeuticals, Garnier, Vichy, La Roche-Posay, any one of those brands I would trust when it comes to sunscreen. And I use the hydrating, I think it's an SPF 50 hydrating sunscreen that I use as my daily moisturizer from La Roche-Posay. And I'm trying to think what else I use in the summer. Probably P50. I wouldn't go without my P50 toner in the summer. There are different formulations of the P50 by Biologique Richards. I happen to prefer the P50W, or I also like the Pigment 400, which is the one that I'm currently using. I don't use P50 in the winter. I just simply don't need it, but once the temperature gets a little bit warmer, I start sweating more. A P50 for me is something that my skin doesn't want to go without. There are some acid exfoliants that are comparable, but nothing quite like the P50. It's the original acid exfoliant, and I don't think that anything lives up to it in terms of the formulation, the elegance, what it does for your skin, what other ingredients are embedded in the same formula. I would say go for P50, and I'm currently using the Pigment 400. So those are currently my favorites, but if I can think of anything else, I'll make sure to have them linked in the info box. Do you have any wishlist bags with a navy interior box? So in case you didn't know this, there are different, let's just call it tiers of Hermes bags. Some come in regular boxes and others don't. So the first tier of Hermes bags that is important to know about are going to be your regular Hermes bags. These are going to be the Lindy, the Picatinny, the Evelyn, the G.P.S, etc. Then you move on to your so-called quota bags, or as I like to call them, the Holy Trinity of Hermes bags, which includes the Birkin and the Kelly. And I also like to include the Constance, which is technically not a quota bag unless you get it in exotic skin. But let's be honest, these days it's just as difficult to get as a Birkin or a Kelly. And I would also include the entire Kelly franchise in this group. So the Kelly Pochette, the Kelly Backpack, as well as the Kelly Cot. Then you have your exotic bags. These include all the different bag styles that are made of exotic skin. So this can be ostrich, different types of lizard, different types of croc, or alligator. And then you have the tier of so-called exceptional bags, which come packaged in an orange box, but not the same orange box that you're used to. They're inspired by jewelry boxes, so they have a hard shell to them and they're actually padded on the inside and have a navy blue interior. So these are bags that are really out there, that are really intricate and unique. And personally, because I am not an Hermes collector, I like to buy pieces that I can use and enjoy. These are not really pieces that were made for everyday use, considering that they are often diamond encrusted, they are made of precious materials like hand-painted silk, or have really features that a sculpture would. These are not really made for everyday use, so I personally don't have a blue box on my wish list. But if you would like to receive something that would genuinely feel like buying a piece of art, this might be something that you want to explore. And we have time for one more question, and I think this should be it, which is, have you ever done the Faubourg Saint Honoré lottery system? How did it go? I personally have never done it. Would I do it now? Probably I would, just because I do these videos for you guys. I would love to try it and then do a video on it for you, just so I can come back with my own experience. Do I have friends who have done it recently? Yes, I do. I have friends who went to Paris with the hopes of getting their first bag, and then I also have friends who are seasoned collectors and they showed up dressed in hat to Hermes. All I can tell you, based on the experience of my personal friends, is that they had no luck. The friend who went in looking for a Birkin, I think she got offered a Picatin or something along those lines. And then my other friend got offered, I think she got offered a Constance wallet and then maybe a Lindy in exotic skin. And she asked for, again, a Birkin or a Kelly. So I personally don't know anyone who had any luck at the Faubourg Saint Honoré store. I do know friends who shop in Paris who have a long-standing relationship with other boutiques, because when it comes to Paris, if you're thinking I'm gonna go to Paris and I'm gonna go to the Hermes mothership, it is the Faubourg Saint Honoré store, but I think Hermes has two or maybe even three other stores outside of just the mothership. But this particular store is the only one where they have a lottery system. So if you didn't know this, if you want to go to the mothership store, you can browse any one of their métiers or departments. But if you'd like to pick up a bag, you actually have to get an appointment. And it's not as easy as giving them a call or writing them an email. You actually have to apply for an appointment the day before you want to go. You have to apply online with your passport number, and you can enter to win a chance for an appointment. Don't forget that it's only an appointment. It doesn't guarantee that you will be offered anything remotely similar to what you want or what you're asking for. It's possible that you go in, you ask for a Birkin 30 in a certain color with a certain stitching, and that's the bag that you get offered. But it's also possible that you ask for a mini Kelly and you come out with an offer of, I don't know, Kelly wallet or an Evelyn. It's not guaranteed that you will be offered anything like what you're looking for. But would I try it? I probably would, just so I could come back and tell you guys about my experience. But one thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't build an entire trip around it. I wouldn't want to wait in line at other stores. I wouldn't stress about getting an appointment. If I was already in Paris, I would definitely try my luck to see what happens. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would much rather spend my time going to the flagship of Chanel and Dior and buying ready to wear that can actually be tailored to perfection in-house, because one thing that most Dior's and Chanel boutiques are not able to do is make changes that are too drastic to pieces that you buy in their stores, unless you buy them directly from the flagship, because these boutiques usually have an in-house tailor that is able to do just a little bit more than what other boutiques are able to do. So that's definitely something that I would take advantage of. If we're talking about Hermes, I would definitely take advantage of their made-to-measure service, which they also offer in Paris. Now, do I get the hype around this whole lottery system and why people want to go and do it so bad? Absolutely. If you only want one bag and one bag only, you don't want to spend your time building a relationship and waiting for your dream bag to come in, you just want to get your hands on a bag, this might be your perfect chance. Not to mention that Hermes is going to be a lot less expensive in France than it is in the US or Asia or really outside of Europe. So it all makes sense, and I think you should try it. But don't get your hopes up and don't let it ruin your trip if you don't end up with an appointment on your hands. But my friends, these are all the questions that we had time for today. I hope you got something out of this video, and if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and be sure to let me know your answer to these questions. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.